At Reap Financial, we have a really unique privilege of retiring dozens of families throughout the year. And, I got to tell you, one of the things we want you to be prepared for is an early retirement. There's a lot of risk that come with early retirement. And today, 7 out of 10 Americans retire sooner than they were planning. Not necessarily because they wanted to, as I mentioned. Things like having to retire to take care of an elderly parent, having to take care of a spouse where maybe their health failed, maybe your health failed, maybe you get laid off. There's a number of reasons for that, and there's some really important considerations when it comes to early retirement. Let's dive into these today. Good day, everybody. Chris Heerlein here, host of Retire Ready TV every Wednesday on KXAN. That's News Channel 36 here in Austin. Please be sure and hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications. Today, I'm going to be talking about the dangers of early retirement and some major considerations you need to be thinking through, planning towards in the event you want to retire early or you're forced to retire early. Let's dive into these today. Number one is healthcare cost. And we think about healthcare costs maybe as something that you'll have to deal with, obviously month to month in your retirement, but also long-term care, home health care, nursing home care. Those are two things retirees need to be thinking through. Their medical expense throughout retirement, so Medicare supplemental, maybe an Obamacare plan, whatever you're on, and then in late life, what does medical and care look like then? So in comes the danger with retiring early. When you retire early, let's say you retire 59, 60, 61, you're not of an age where you can get on Medicare. Medicare age is 65. And so you're gonna have to self-insure. That means you may get on COBRA from your company's former plan. You may have to go to the exchange, get an Obamacare plan, and these plans can be expensive. It could range easily from $600 to over $1,000 a month per person. Now that's okay as long as you have a plan for this. But see, what happens is you need to build that into your budget in these early years prior to turning 65 and getting on Medicare. And what this does is this means you're going to be withdrawing heavier, draining your assets earlier in this early retirement stage. And you lose the compounding effect of your wealth year over year as you're drawing heavier. Now, we retire dozens of families throughout the year that retire well before 65, but this is something that many of them have not really considered is how am I going to cover myself healthcare wise, emergency wise, pre-65. And so you got to make sure that you build this cost in and see the long-term effects of this. The second thing is not having a tax efficient plan. Now, tax efficiency, it sounds boring, it may sound complicated, but tax efficiency is one of the main things that can make your portfolio last as long as you do. By keeping more of your wealth via taxes every single year, talk about the compounding effect, right? Your money's staying with you, it's breaking a sweat for you. So you need to have not only a tax efficient investment strategy, but a tax efficient income strategy. What is your plan to pull money out in early retirement in a way that, number one, you're not overpaying in taxes. Number two, you're not pulling from one account too early because then you lose options once that account's drained entirely. And three, do you have a plan for what taxes will look like potentially in the future? A lot of you, if you retire early, the paycheck goes away. You may be in the lowest tax bracket you've been in since your first job or when you started working. And that gets exciting to think about. But then when Social Security kicks in, when you're taking money from your IRAs, 401ks, you turn 73 or 75, you have to pull money out of your IRAs, 401ks via the required distribution. All of these things along the way can impact your tax bracket. And that means more is going back to the government on Social Security, pensions, etc. So you got to have not only a tax efficient income plan, but as I said, a tax efficient investment plan. If you're still working and you're not touching your investments, they're working for you, you need to make sure that you're not overpaying in taxes on those investments year over year. I'll give you a great example. A lot of families, they hold stocks that pay dividends, and you may be buying and selling, or your advisor's buying and selling in there, and it's generating ordinary dividends and in some cases qualified dividends. And those dividends for many investors are just being reinvested. Well, in this case, it's still going to show up as income or capital gains on your tax return every year. And if you're in your late working years, potentially your highest earning years, you may be in a very high tax bracket. So we don't want you paying tax on money you're not using along the way. And that's just one of many ways that we see successful people overpaying in taxes. Now, number 3 is not having inflation built into your plan. If you don't account for inflation, what's going to happen 10 and 20, 30 years from now is it's not that you're going to go broke, it's that your lifestyle will go broke, because that means you're going to have to start trimming things away because, again, you didn't account for inflation. Now, inflation has been rampant the last 4 or 5 years with COVID and everything else, and we're seeing that starting to come down as the date of this is filmed. But at the same time, we know inflation will continue over the next decades. And so you need to be using somewhere in the realm of 3.6% inflationary rate. And that's not just a number that we feel comfortable with. That's around a 100-year average based on the recording date here in 2024. So obviously you want to adjust your inflation rate in your plan, but you will be shocked to see what your budget number today looks like 10 and 20 years from now to, again, remember, maintain your current standard of living. Just maintain what you're doing. I drop new content on this channel every week. Be sure and leave your questions in the comment section below. All right, number 4, it's taking Social Security at the wrong time without a solid plan. The majority of Americans today, they take Social Security early. And there's a number of reasons for that. But does that mean you should take Social Security early? A lot of what you read says wait as long as possible. And what we see is the higher the net worth you have, the more wealth you have, the less emphasis there is on waiting on Social Security. And so with this said, depending if you are just getting in the savings game, you feel like you haven't saved enough, or maybe you've saved too much, you have to have a plan as to when you're going to take Social Security. We're talking today about retiring early. And the thing is that if you retire early, let's say at 62, and you don't have any other income coming in, well, you're drawing from your IRAs, 401ks, your investment accounts in these early stages of retirement. And remember, you've got to control your growth rate. That's important, but also your withdrawal rate. And so if you're not taking Social Security, chances are you're drawing heavier. You have a higher withdrawal rate in these early years of retirement, which again can really kill the compounding effect long-term in these accounts. So in many cases, you may want to consider turning on your Social Security and maybe deferring your spouse's or vice versa. In some cases, it may make sense to turn them both on today so that you're not drawing too heavy on your investments early in retirement. This is a critical piece because Social Security is your money. You've been paying in for years, I know, and we want to wring every nickel out of it. But in some cases, it can make sense to take it early, and others, it makes sense to take it later. Now, the thing about retirement planning, whether you're going to retire early, in your 70s or 80s, it doesn't matter what age, the most critical number in your plan is the budget. You have to have a concrete budget and an idea of the bounds that you're going to stay within to ensure that you're not overspending, that your portfolio is going to last as long as you do. And the thing is that longevity, we have no idea how long we're going to live, but longevity is a big factor here because again, this portfolio has to be distributed to you, whether it's early, mid, or late retirement, in a way that the money is going to last as long as you do. The portfolio will have longevity alongside your longevity. So the budget is one of the first things we want to hone in on with our successful retirees at REAP Financial. Okay, so I talk about why your budget is the most important number in your plan in this video. Click here to watch.